A desert full of unblinking killers. Mongolia, 70 million years ago. In this simulation, we'll follow the intense day-by-day journey of Talon, a 100-pound Velociraptor just trying to survive in this harsh prehistoric world. When you're not very big, big brains help. From hunting in packs to avoiding larger predators, every decision could mean life or death. Can Talon make it in an unforgiving world of angry predators where survival is never guaranteed? Well, to tell you this story, we're going to have to take you back to day 1. Our journey begins in the Gobi Desert, Mongolia, 70 million years ago. Back then, Mongolia was a semi-arid desert with sand dunes, scattered vegetation, and seasonal water sources, supporting a diverse range of dinosaurs and other prehistoric life. On day 1, as the sun rises over a canyon, a herd of Saurolophuses, duck-billed herbivores, trudges across the dusty plain. The Saurolophus was a large herbivorous dinosaur from the late Cretaceous, known for its distinctive spike-like crest, and fossils found in both Mongolia and Canada. But for this herd, danger lurked nearby. A small pack of velociraptors, fast, intelligent hunters about the size of a turkey, move like shadows in the brush. Their leader, Ash, a sleek black-coat male, watches the Saurolophus herd from above. Suddenly aware of their presence, the herd begin to panic and quicken their pace. But in the hot desert sun, an older male, tired from the long journey, had begun to fall behind. When a pack of hungry velociraptors are nearby, being all on your own was not something you could afford to do. Sensing the moment, the pack went in for the kill, hooking on and sinking their sickle-shaped claws into the Saurolophus. Despite their smaller size than people may realise, as a pack, velociraptors are still some of the most deadly predators to roam these lands. For the poor older male, he did not stand a chance. The pack all take their fill. A meal such as this will sustain our pack of raptors for days to come. The herd of Saurolophus continue on, knowing that they are lucky to escape with their lives, and they have the older male to thank. Back at the nest, however, new life begins. From a cluster of speckled eggs, a small velociraptor chick cracks open the shell. This is Talon, a baby male velociraptor. Beside him hatches another egg, and this is Julie, his sister. From a second nest, a curious hatchling named Duck stumbles to life. Duck is the offspring of Ash, the black velociraptor who leads the pack. Soon, the newly hatched raptors begin to explore their hunting grounds, and Talon and Duck become good friends, choosing to do just about everything together. The hatchlings play and explore together, all under the watchful eyes of the adults. However, both hatchlings were bold and curious. Too curious. As the two raptors continue to play, chasing insects and shadows, they found themselves wandering further and further away from their nesting ground. Into the forbidden forest they soon find themselves, and they had disturbed something terrifying. A sleeping Ferrozenosaurus rises from her slumbers. But before we continue Talon's journey, we have to tell you about today's sponsor, pingplayers.com. Now, while Talon was stuck dealing with world-ending meteorites and angry herbivores, you, my friend, could be dealing with instant server setup. Seriously, with pingplayers.com, your game server is live faster than the Velociraptor ambush, which equates to less than 60 seconds, by the way. Need help modding your game? Tweaking settings? Well, Pingplayers' built-in AI assistant has your back. Unlike Stegosaur Brains, this one is actually smart. It can help with mods, backups, customizations, basically everything but hatching you out of an egg. And speaking of mods, unlimited modding. No restrictions. You want to turn your survival game into a dino disco? Do it. Turn zombies into chickens? Go wild. There are no rules in the Cretaceous, and similarly, Pingplayers keeps it that way. Plus, with 20 global server locations, you get ultra-low latency and high stability. So whether you're playing in New York or nesting in New Zealand, your server won't go extinct mid-session. Oh, and tired of committing to just one game? Yeah, me too. That's why Pingplayers offers game switching at no extra cost. Feel like swapping your Ark server to DayZ or Rust? Not a problem. And if you do hit a snag, there's 24/7 human support. Actual gamers who know your titles and won't respond to your problem with a generic copy and paste from the Jurassic period. They're also rated 4.9 out of 5 on Trustpilot because unlike Talon's prey, their reputation can't be torn to shreds. So don't be like dinosaurs, evolve your gameplay, survive with style, and thrive with pingplayers.com. Check out my link in the description and use code Rampy35 to get 35% off your first server. Thank you so much to pingplayers.com for sponsoring the video and supporting the channel. Despite being a theropod dinosaur and belonging to the same group as both the Velociraptor and the Tyrannosaurus rex, this dinosaur was actually a herbivore. However, that did not mean that it was friendly. This mother Therizinosaurus was protecting her nest, and no intruder, no matter how small, was welcome. As Talon and Duck realised their mistake, they attempted to flee, but the Therizinosaur was not about to let them get away. As the two raptors split up slightly, the mother Therizinosaur honed in on Duck. Still a baby, Duck's little legs could not carry him far, and as the Therizino caught up, one swing of her massive claw was all it took. The future leader of the raptor pack, Ash's son, was dead. I think that we should all leave our respects to Duck in the comments below. Duck's sacrifice allowed Talon to escape with his life. For the mother Therizinosaur, she went back to guard her nest. She would likely have far more dangerous threats to face before her offspring were born. Back at the nesting grounds of our Velociraptor pack, Talon returned home and was greeted by his mother. However, once Ash realised that his son had not returned home from their unauthorised adventure, he came looking for Talon, blaming the young raptor for the disappearance of his son. In sheer rage, Ash attacks Talon, chasing him down. If it wasn't for the intervention of Talon's mother, he would have been a simple snack for Ash. While Talon's mother stands in the way of Ash and her son, Talon makes a run for it, and flees into the vast Mongolian desert. For Talon's mother though, the fight has just begun. In the end, she was no match for Ash, whose killing claw dealt the fatal blow. Talon's mother had sacrificed herself to save her son's life. Now an outcast, Talon must run, and most crucially, fight for his life. For this young Velociraptor, the journey had just begun. Welcome to Talon's journey. It's day 10 in Mongolia. Now an adolescent, Talon has learned how to look after himself. Sort of. He's leaner, faster, and crucially, smarter. Yet still, he remains an outcast. He scavenges insects and small lizards, all on the edge of what remains his former pack's territory. Everything that he once knew is gone, and still remains for him out of grasp. But he can't live off insects forever, and Talon is now in need of a proper meal. As luck would have it, one presents itself. Across the water, Talon sets his sights on a pair of Compsognathuses. He's hunted these before. Once the element of surprise is lost though, Talon goes in for the kill. These compies weren't slow, but Velociraptors have the better stamina. After an exhausting chase, Talon finally catches up with his prey, and can enjoy his meal. The problem is that hunts like this were barely worth the energy. The desert of Mongolia is vast, desolate, hot, and unforgiving. Here, even the strongest creatures struggle to survive. Talon needs a pack of his own, one who can help him take down some proper prey. Life on his own is proving to be a challenge. But before Talon could think any more about finding his pack, he's got something else to deal with. He's seen these things before. Dust storms. Finding shelter is now the only goal for Talon. Otherwise, he may well die out here. Luckily for him, there is a cave nearby. But what Talon didn't realise was that this cave had already been taken. This is the Oviraptor. Oviraptor was a small feathered bird-like dinosaur from the late Cretaceous of Mongolia, originally misnamed as an egg thief, but later found out to have brooded its own eggs. Likely an omnivore, it had a toothless beak, a crest on its head, and showed advanced behaviours like nesting and parental care. While Velociraptor was not on their species' regular diet, outnumbered 3 to 1, Talon would still have to be careful. If he had a pack, the Oviraptors would almost certainly be on the menu themselves. Instead though, for Talon, he just had to scare them off and claim the cave for himself. Survival was the most important thing here. After a brief battle, the Oviraptors vacated the cave, and Talon claimed it all for himself. Here he would have a safe place to sleep through the night, and wait for the dust storm to clear. It even had a nice pool of water for Talon to drink from. The next morning, Talon ventured out of the cave and returned to his favourite hunting ground. This lake was a hotspot for all creatures big and small, and Talon prepared to lay low and wait for something of interest to show. He didn't have to wait long, but the first creature to arrive was another Velociraptor. Strange, he doesn't normally see those around here. This raptor appeared to be all on its own, and was looking perhaps rather tatty. Perhaps like Talon, it was another orphan. Thrown out of his pack at a young age, Talon was not the most social raptor in the Mongolian Desert, and it had been a while since he had socialised with one of his own kind. As he approached the raptor, stalking low to the ground, he managed to scare it off. As the raptor fled, Talon had a decision to make. He could either stay here and continue life on his own, or follow the raptor. Perhaps it could lead him to a fresh start, and a pack of his own. However, as he began to follow the tracks left by the raptor, there were some bigger footprints in the sand. Footprints that were almost the size of Talon himself. Following the footprints led Talon to the nesting ground of some Gigantoraptors. Despite its size, the Gigantoraptor was likely fast and agile, and it belonged to the Oviraptorosaur group, known for bird-like features and parental care. Talon had encountered these before, and he knew that he would have to be careful. But he was also starving. He had to eat, and he had to eat now. Gigantoraptor eggs were nutrient-rich, and Talon had tasted these before. But he knew to have a chance of stealing one, he would have to wait until night fell. As night began, Talon prepared to make his move. As one Gigantoraptor decided to take a nap, the other one went for a drink at a nearby lake. This left the nest unprotected, just for a second, and chances like this would not come around often, and for Talon, this was his opportunity. However, there was about to be a twist in the tale. It turned out that Talon was not the only predator on the hunt that night, as something much larger was lurking in the nearby trees. Unaware of the danger though, Talon stuck to his plan. He snuck up into the vacant nest without so much as making a sound, and once in the nest, a starving Talon helped himself to one of the eggs. He knew he would have to eat quickly though, but as quietly as possible also, as it wouldn't be long until his cover was blown. Sure enough, as the Gigantoraptor who had gone off for a drink returned to the nesting site, he screamed at rage and seeing Talon devouring his offspring. But Talon was prepared for this, and while the Gigantoraptor was fast for its size, Talon had both agility and size on his side. As he fled, he went for the trees, and soon disappeared into the forest. In the dead of the night, the Gigantoraptor had no chance. But for our Gigantoraptor, life was about to get a lot worse. Talon's thieving antics had caused panic amongst the nesting ground, and this provided an ideal opportunity for the Tarbosaurus to emerge from the shadows. Here in Mongolia, it was the apex predator. Emerging from the trees, the Gigantoraptors fled the nesting ground, all separating in different directions. The Tarbosaurus got the kill that he desired, and feasted throughout the night. For Talon, his risky plan had paid off. Just. Still, the 2 eggs he had managed to eat had saved his life and replenished his body. It had been a successful night for our young Velociraptor. He returned to his lake, where for once he would be able to sleep with a full stomach. It's now day 50. After sighting a lone Velociraptor at the lake a couple of weeks ago, Talon was curious as to whether or not he might see her again. Lone raptors such as Talon were not a common sight. Without a pack, surviving out here in the Gobi Desert was severely challenging, and Talon once more was hungry. In the distance, Talon suddenly heard something. Certainly sounded like a Velociraptor, and indeed it was. On the other side of the lake, in the same position as the other day, reappeared the very same raptor that Talon had spied only a couple of weeks back. Talon was determined that this time, though, he was going to make his presence known. He had never had a pack of his own, and this was perhaps his chance. Unfortunately, though, Talon was still a little bit overeager with this one. Due to not growing up in an established pack, his social skills were severely lacking. He had managed to scare her away again. Well, that didn't quite go to plan. Still, though, Talon was determined not to give up, and decided to continue following her. He eventually found her taking a drink at a nearby lake, and slowly approached her once more, trying not to scare her this time. Once more though, the raptor ran. Talon was surprised at why a lone raptor was so scared of interacting with him. She ran into the forest, but Talon knew these woods. These woods were the same woods that only a couple of weeks ago had helped to save his life. He also knew that within these woods lurked danger. A danger unknown to his future friend. Talon continued to follow her, and soon he found her tucking into a Gigantoraptor carcass. Knowing the likely cause of this carcass, Talon attempted to warn the young raptor of the danger nearby. Too late. The Tarbosaurus had woken up, and it was not happy to see a small tiny pest eating its own kill. He began to chase the lone raptor, and for a second, it looked as if he would be having some fresh Velociraptor for breakfast. But Talon stepped in. Distracting the Tarbosaur and getting him to focus on him instead, Talon bravely risked his life to save this yet unknown raptor. Once again, Talon barely made it out of the same woods alive. The Tarbosaur, however, had successfully protected his carcass and prepared to get back to sleep. He was still full from the last night's meal, and he had successfully driven the 2 pests away. He didn't really like raptor for breakfast anyway. That night, Talon returned to his lake after a long, exhausting day and helped himself to a drink. He settled down for the night on his own and vulnerable to just about anything. Life was very hard for our protagonist. The next day, though, he had a visitor. The raptor was back again, and as Talon dazedly woke up from his sleep, he realised that she didn't seem scared of him for once. This is Sable, a young female Velociraptor. By heroically distracting the Tarbosaur yesterday, Talon had finally won her trust. For our young Velociraptor, this is all that he had dreamed of. For the majority of his life, Talon had scraped and scavenged to get by, all on his own. Without the comfort of a pack, it was quite frankly a miracle that he had survived so long. The 2 raptors spent the full day together, playing, communicating, and hunting. But as night fell, Sable said her goodbyes and disappeared into the night. Talon once more found himself alone. We jump forward now to day 60, and a familiar scene is occurring. A herd of Saurolophus is passing through the canyon. The canyon, though, is the territory of Velociraptors, and the herd know this, causing them to be on their guard. They would have to be especially careful as they are actually travelling with their babies, which would be an easy meal for a pack of raptors. Still though, every animal has to rest and have some water, even in the most perilous of places. And this would prevent an opportunity for Talon and Sable. For the first time in his life, Talon now has a regular hunting partner. While she may still disappear every night during the day, these raptors would do everything together, and today they are on the hunt. The target? A baby Saurolophus. They would have to be careful though, especially as the herd are more than aware of their presence. However, while the rest of the herd take a drink together, one baby has been left out in the open, unguarded. Talon and Sable immediately know what they must do. They must make the baby Saurolophus panic and run, separating her from the rest of the herd. As she continues to run in the opposite direction to the rest of her kind, she is only running one way, to certain death. Talon and Sable take down their prey and will enjoy a good hearty meal together. However, just as they were feeding, they would be interrupted. A herd of Negmentosauruses were passing through, and our two raptors stopped feeding to watch. Negmentosaurus was a long-necked, plant-eating dinosaur from Mongolia that lived around 70 million years ago, known mostly from its skull. It looked like a typical sauropod, huge body, long tail, but had a weirdly shaped skull. Scientists this day are still trying to figure out what the rest of its body looked like. These dinosaurs were not going to be food for our little raptors though, and as the canyon became a hotspot including flying predators, our raptors decided to make themselves scarce before they got caught up in something bigger. On day 80, Sable had decided it was time to show Talon where she was going every night. It turned out that rather than being a stray, Sable actually had a full pack of her own, and it was a big one. She was going to try and introduce Talon to the pack. Velociraptors may have been territorial and aggressive towards other packs or outcasts, likely competing for food and space. Fossil evidence suggests some cooperation within groups, but not necessarily peaceful interactions between separate packs. So for Talon, this was a dangerous situation that he was walking into. This is Claw, a 6.8 foot long Velociraptor, and the leader of Sable's pack. Upon seeing the arrival of Sable with an unknown raptor, Claw immediately approached. Approaching Sable, the two raptors interact, but Claw, however, is not impressed. As a leader of a big pack, to take in a stray and unknown raptor would be seen as a possible sign of weakness, and Claw cannot risk that. But there's something else. Claw can sense that Talon is more than capable, but that makes him a threat for his leadership. Despite his attempts to submit and show Claw he is friendly, the leader of the pack is not having any of it. Talon is forced to leave, or he will pay with his life. For Sable, she now has a choice to make. Either side of her pack and leave Talon behind on his own, or trust that her very own pack will allow her to leave without killing her. Talon slowly walks away from the pack, but he wasn't prepared to give up just yet. Talon knew that he had been fortunate to survive this long without a pack. Having Sable by his side to help him hunt and survive had given him a fresh lease of life. He was not prepared to give up that life just yet. Thus, Talon decided to hide behind a tree, waiting for an opportunity to prove his worth to what he was determined to be his new pack. He would spend the night alone in the bushes and see what the next day had in store for him. The next day, it's a peaceful morning in the Mongolia Desert. But for our Velociraptor pack, the majority of them are preparing to go out for an early morning hunt. Some of them are more up for it than others. Sable, after the events of last night, is hiding away, unsure about joining the morning hunt. Yet she needs to eat, and if she doesn't join the hunt, she risks being thrown out of the pack, or maybe, perhaps, even worse. Eventually, she reluctantly decides to join the hunt, and meets up with the rest of the large pack of Velociraptors, heading out. Nearby, Talon stirs. He hears the sound of the raptor pack going on the hunt, and decides to follow them, keeping some safe distance of course. For the raptors, the target of this hunt is a Gigantoraptor. Not normally on the menu for the pack, but today, Claw is feeling both confident and also hungry. Having a large pack has a lot of upsides, but for Claw, he needs to make sure that they are all fed adequately, or risk being overthrown as the leader. The Gigantoraptors, however, are already on alert. Night and early morning is often hunting time for the Tarbosaurus, so they have multiple scouts out already looking for danger. Claw and his pack have well and truly lost the element of surprise. Yet the Gigantoraptors seem cautious. With a large pack of Velociraptors, they are very well and truly outnumbered, and not sure whether they should be protecting their eggs or themselves. As the raptors spread out to try and confuse their prey, they zone in particular on one Gigantoraptor. Velociraptors might not be the 6-foot killing machines that the Jurassic Park films portray them as, but that killing claw is still lethal. With sheer determination and numbers, Claw and his pack successfully bring a Gigantoraptor to the ground. However, just as they were about to feast on a hearty meal, something else bigger and scarier arrives on the scene. It's a Therizinosaurus. With its large claws, this Therizinosaur is a huge threat to the pack. At this point, the pack began to retreat, but Claw decides they're to stand and fight, desperate not to lose the Gigantoraptor carcass. He knows how hungry his pack is. This, however, was a move that would immediately backfire. Chaos immediately breaks out as the raptors desperately lunge at the Therizinosaur. Their bodies would scatter out in all directions. Despite the raptors doing some serious damage to the Therizinosaur and even wrestling it down to the floor at one point, it was just too powerful for our Velociraptors, and Claw's arrogance had been the downfall of his entire pack. Almost his entire pack. There was one raptor left, Sable. Unwilling to join the hunt in the first place, Sable had waited at the back, knowing that Claw's orders were a suicide mission. Now though, she found herself face to face with a wounded and very angry Therizinosaur. Sable decided to turn and run, but the Therizinosaur was beginning to catch up. But from the tree emerges a shadow. Watching all along, Talon sprints in from behind to try and save Sable. He had lost his childhood best friend at the hands of one of these things, and he could not bear to lose anything else. Talon jumps directly onto the Therizinosaurus' head, blinding it in one eye with his killing claw. Dazed, confused, and already severely weakened, he thrashes around violently, but nothing will stop Talon from saving Sable's life. Talon has done it. As the Therizinosaur falls to the ground, Talon enjoys the meal, and Sable then quickly emerges from the bushes to thank him for saving her life. With the majority of Sable's pack now gone, including Claw, Talon returns with her to the remaining members of the pack. Emboldened by the events that had just occurred, the death of the previous leader, and the support of Sable, Talon vies for the leadership of the pack. he is met without a contest. From outcast to pack leader, for our young Velociraptor, it has been quite a journey. In the Mongolian sands lies the bodies of Claw and the rest of his pack. Soon they will be buried, and all set to be discovered 70 million years later. The cycle of life continues. Thank you all so much for watching my 100 days life of Velociraptor video. If you have enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and put a comment down in the description of what you guys want to see me simulate next. In the meantime guys, have a great rest of your day, and why not watch this video on your screen now.